Hey there, thanks for joining me for the Treasures and Junk Journal Workshop. Today we're going to be making our signature pages for our journal. I'm going to be using the Precious Stamperia pad. Here's their website just in case you do like the paper pad and want to purchase your own. If you're not using this, just make sure that your paper pad is a 12 by 12 and that it is double-sided. It makes your pages a little more interesting and you have to do a lot less gluing for that. So let's get started with a couple of the other supplies that you need. First, you're going to have a stylus, just a very simple one. I got mine from the Dollar Tree. And then a paper trimmer. This one here is a 12-inch so that it'll actually fit my paper pad. That's super simple. Opens up right here. This is your blade. It's also got an opening here for extra measurements, which makes it a 12 by 12. To get started, what we're going to do is you're going to take your 12 by 12 pad and you're going to pull out all of your paper that you want to use. You can use as many as you like. And you're going to cut them all into a 6 by 6. So I'm going to find my 6 inches here. I'm going to put my paper on here, and I want to make sure that my paper is going in the right direction. This is going to read this direction, so I want to cut it as this being my top and this being my bottom. So I'm going to put it on 6 inches here, and then I'm just going to cut straight across the page just like this. And I'm going to do that with as many pages as I have and I want to use. Okay, so keep cutting all your pages. And then when you're done, we're going to move on. I've already cut all mine for video's sake. So I cut 8 of them. So what you're going to do next is you can determine however many you want. I made 6 of these. So these are 6 inches by 8 inches, and then you fold it in half, which makes your journal a 4 by 6. And you can put these in here any way that you want. You can organize them, you can make them colored, you can do anything you want in there, and they basically just sit inside of each other, just like this. For my last 2 pages, I actually left it a little bit longer, and what I did is on the paper trimmer, you're going to measure 4 inches. Okay? So we're going to turn it around and measure 4 inches. Right here, just like this. And then that's where your stylus comes in. You're going to put it here, and you're going to just run down your actual cutting channel and make a score. You don't want to go all the way through it. That's why you're not cutting it. And then you can fold it here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to score it again right here at the end. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to make you a signature with an extra fold in it. So instead of having just the flat double, we're going to get creative and we're just going to make an extra little flap here on the side. So when you put it into your journal, you can actually leave it like this where it opens this direction. Or you can just put this inside and leave it here where it actually creates an extra little tab here. Okay, so I'm going to put this inside. And again, all of these are cut to 6 by 8, except for this last one. This last one here is 6 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches, and 3 inches. So you're going to want to cut that extra inch off the end just so that you have a little bit smaller so that they're not the exact same size here. Okay. And again, I did the same thing on my second set. As you can see, this pocket opens the other direction. I did that on purpose so that they weren't the exact same. You're welcome to put them both on the same side, do opposite sides. It's entirely up to you. A lot of left-handed people will prefer them on this side. It's kind of just your thing and how you want to do it. So you can keep creating these for as many as you want. You can make your journal really thick. You can make it really thin. It just depends on the paper pad and how many pieces of paper you have and how big you want it to be at the end. I'm going to keep mine relatively small just for video's sake. So this is my signatures, and we'll see you again for the hidden places, pockets, flaps, and tags section. Have a good one. Welcome back to the Treasures and Junk journaling class. This is our second section, which is hidden places, where we are going to be making pockets, flaps, and tags. I'm still working with the Precious Stamperia double-sided paper pad. Let's go ahead and get started on our supplies that we're going to need today. First, you're going to need your trusty paper trimmer. You're going to need some glue. You can use anything you want, tape runner, paper glue, anything like that. Just make sure it's not too watery, otherwise your paper is going to warp and distort. And brads. Most of you know these from when we used to have to do school projects. They just look like this here. It's just a little metal brad where you can actually open it up and attach it to all kinds of different things that hold your papers in place. And the signatures that you created on our last class. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So as you know, when we cut our signatures out, we actually had a lot of leftover 4x6 pages. So those are actually what I'm going to use to create a bunch of our pockets. So the 4x6 pages that we had left over were like this. So for these two pockets here, all I did was took my paper trimmer here and then decide which side you want it to actually attach to. It'll make a difference in the direction that you cut it. See how they're in opposite directions here? And then all you have to do is go from whichever top corner you choose down to wherever you want. So just kind of play around with it and see where you want your actual paper to end. And then you're just going to put it on the tip and slide the paper down. That's going to give you two little triangles. This one here is going to be your pocket. This one you can use later on as an actual page pocket on the top if you would like. Otherwise, it's just this little guy here for extras for later. Okay. All right, and then once you have those two pockets, you're going to take your signatures and you're going to decide which one of those you want to place your pockets on. I actually really like this page, but it's kind of bland compared to the rest of them. So I'm going to take in my pocket and I'm going to line it up with that edge. And I'm going to glue it right here to the front. You can glue it to the back. You can glue it to the inside where it makes a pocket inside the page. It's entirely up to you where you actually want to put your pocket. So kind of play around with it and see what works best for you. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to flip it over. And you can actually use this either direction because it's double-sided. So if you'd rather use the paper on this side, you can go ahead and do it that way. Or you can do it in this direction. It's entirely up to you and how you cut your paper. So I'm just going to run a tiny, tiny little dollop of glue all the way down both of the straight sides, top and bottom. Okay, and then this side over here, I'm also going to put some glue on. I'm going to leave this open so that it actually creates the pocket. Okay. Flip it back over, line it up. And press down so that your glue will actually stick. This will take a couple minutes to actually dry depending on what kind of glue that you're using. You can continue going on. It won't actually hurt it as long as you don't mess with it too much. Okay. So there's one pocket. Now I'm going to go to my second set of signatures because I don't want the pockets in the exact same one. So I'm just going to go around and see kind of what I want. And I think I'm going to put it right here on this pocket. All right. So same thing again. You're going to go down the large side, across the bottom, and then up the small flat side as well, leaving the triangle piece or diagonal piece unglued so that it creates your actual pocket. Line it up. And glue it down. And because of the way we are actually going to put our signatures into our cover at the end, it's better to line it up with the outside edges than it is on the inside, because those inside edges will never be visible anyways. So make sure that you're lined up on your outside 2 edges, okay? Put my signatures back together. Okay, we're gonna move on to our next type of pocket. So I just made one very simple one of these. So what I did is I took that 4x6 and I just kind of folded it over a tiny bit. I just made sure my 2 edges were even here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create 2 pockets out of this one piece. So you're gonna glue along this edge here and along this edge here. So top and bottom edges. Fold it over, adhere it down. All right, so now you've got a pocket here, and then when we glue it down, we're gonna have a second pocket right here. So I'm just gonna take this very first page. Again, like I said, I don't think these pages are very fancy, so that's why I'm kind of trying to dress them up a little bit more. I love them, they're just not as fun as I would like them to be. So, and I'm gonna put this right here so that it makes double pockets. And this time I'm going to glue the top, bottom, and all along the folded spine side. Okay. Line it up. Press it down so it adheres. Alrighty, and now we have another double pocket. Okay, and you could make as many of these types of pockets you want. It kind of just depends on your signatures and how many spaces you have available and how much you really want to do with it. So keep making all these types of pockets. Make as many as you feel like you want. The next pocket we're going to make is again using that 4x6. And all we're actually doing is we're taking it and we're folding it in the opposite direction of the one that we just did. So from top to bottom. And we're just going to fold it up just a tiny bit where there's a little space again. And we're going to use this for a double pocket as well. Now I just got to figure out where I want it. I think I'm going to put one here. So, and if you don't like this side, you can always flip it over and use the other side. It just depends on what you want to use it as. So we're going to do the inside again, the 2 sides. And now we're going to do all 3 sides. We're going to do the 2 sides. And then we're going to do the folded edge. Okay. Line it up. Adhere it down. And you have another pocket. Doubles here. Okay. Now, I want to make sure that you guys are also aware that this fold right here, or even this big long pocket, also make really good ways to make make flaps. So if you wanted to use something like this instead of making it into a pocket, in your signature, you can actually just bring it in here anywhere you want and put it just like this. So that when you create your actual signatures into the cover, you have this other little tiny flap here. So that would make 2 flaps, one here and one here. So that's another option for these little folded pages in case you don't want to use them as pockets. I'm going to go ahead and create one more pocket. Let's put him right here. again, I'm going to go ahead and do the sides. Fold it in half. And if you want to do a full pocket, you can also bring this all the way to the edge and just make one like envelope pocket instead of having. You'll still have two, but you won't be able to see this extra little space right here. You'll just have it look like one big main pocket. Okay. There's so many different things that you can do with all of these things that I'm showing you. So please feel free to play around. That's kind of why I'm giving you extra tips on how you can use them other than the way that I'm telling you. That way you can just mess around with it and see what you can come up with. It's really fun to kind of just play with everything and go wild and kind of do your own thing. So okay, so I'm going to put this back together. Okay. So there are just a couple little pockets that we created. Those are just simple, easy things you can use. Don't forget, those pockets can also be used as flaps if you do not want to create pockets with them. Next thing I'm going to move on to is I am going to create some tags. My paper pad actually came with tags already printed in it, so all I had to do was cut them out. And then I'm going to put them into my journals. So one of these is just super simple. I'm actually going to use it as a tag. So you can put it into any pocket that you really want to put it into. Put it in your pocket. You can tie ribbon to it, make it super, super fancy, put a stamp on it with some cute little writing or inspirational quotes on there. Jazz this up any way you want. Use some pens to kind of give it some extra dimension. You can paint on it. It's kind of endless how you want to decorate it. They're really nice because you can do pretty much anything you want. And then, like I said, just find a pocket that you really like and put that inside your pocket. That's a simple way to use a tag. Nice and easy. Okay. So the second one, we're going to take our tag and we are actually going to use it as a pocket itself. So we're going to glue this almost the same way we did with the rest of our pockets, and we're going to glue it into one of our signatures. And we're going to create a hidden pocket, basically. Okay, so I'm going to put him back here on this back page. And I'm going to do it kind of right in the center. So you can put this pocket, this tag pocket, however you want to do it. You can glue both of the sides. You can glue the bottom. You can glue everything around this edge and leave the side open. It's kind of up to you how you want to do it. You can also go ahead and decorate this one out so that it looks really nice and fancy as well. Put some ribbon on the top of it. Color it with some paints. Kind of give it your own little fun embellishment while you're going. Okay. And then I'm going to kind of move it over to the side because I decided to leave this side open here. So I kind of want to give it enough space to get something inside there. Okay. And then just press it all down wherever you decide you want it. And now your tag has become a pocket. See there? Nice little pocket. So there's two very simple ways to use your tags. Okay, the last one we're going to go over is actually creating another pocket out of your tags. This one here, I use two tags, and I'm going to put them on top of each other. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, again, glue the top down one side and the bottom so that the side is open. And like I said before, you can actually use any side you want. You can leave the top open, you can leave the bottom open, you can leave one of the sides or the other side. It kind of just depends on your tag and how you want to do it. I'm going to glue them together here. So this is actually creating a pocket right here. Okay, so that I can use it for anything I want to put in there. Other little tiny tags, secret little hidden messages. It doesn't really matter what you want to put in there. It's all up to you. Okay, and now this is where our brad comes in. So I'm going to find a page. And you know what? I think I want to put it right here on this extra flap. So now I'm just going to line it up wherever I want it. And I'm going to punch a hole through this with my brad. If for some reason the brad doesn't work to punch a hole through it, you can use a little paper piercer, you can use a pencil tip, you can use a little tiny X-Acto blade. Just be real careful that you don't poke too big of a hole in there, because then your brad is not going to work. All right, so now that it's through my tag, I'm just going to line it up and poke it through my actual paper here. And then I'm going to open the back so that it holds the tag in place like this. This is the back of it. Okay. Now, my pocket is right here, but it kind of moves around and does its own little thing and adds a little tiny bit of dimension to your journal. Okay. I'm going to close it back. And if for some reason you decide that you perhaps don't like this guy here, you can also just, you know, run a piece of washi tape or paper right across here and make a little border that covers that up. Or you can just add another sheet of paper around it so that it actually looks like a journaling square. There's tons of different ways to get rid of this if you don't want it in there, okay? So those there are all of our fun little pockets and tags. Now we're going to go to flaps. All right, so my paper pad, again, comes with other little pre-made embellishments. These are just like these little cards that it comes with. So I'm going to use these. I cut them out, and I'm just going to use these to make a flap. The easiest way to do this is you cut another little square. This one here is about 1/2 inch by the size of my card. And I'm actually going to glue this about halfway. I'm just going to glue this straight to this. Okay. So this is going to be my flap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this right at the edge. You can do the folding before you glue it on if it's easier for you. You're welcome to do that. Or you can just do it once you've glued it so that you can kind of see where it goes. Okay? And this creates a little tiny flap. Okay? So you can take this and you can glue it into your page. Sometimes it's a good idea if you use a pocket, because then you can actually glue the flap, the outside flap. You don't see it when you use your pocket. So when you glue it in place, you will actually not see that second piece of paper there. If you don't mind and you want the extra flap, maybe you can actually make this longer and create double flaps out of your cards. You can also take 2 cards and glue them together, and then you use them in there as 2 different little pockets. They go around your signature like this. So now you have a flap here and a flap here. It's kind of dependent on how you actually want to make the flaps. So like I said, you can make double flaps like this. You can use this one singly this way, or you can actually make this a lot longer and make a double flap that way as well, which can be used as a pocket. If you get that second piece on there, you can glue that together to one of your pages and make a pocket out of it. It's all dependent on how you want to make your signatures look. So I'm going to find a spot that I want to make. Okay, so this is going to be a flap, and I'm actually going to use my pocket here that I cut earlier, and I'm going to glue it like this so that I have a flap over the top of my pocket so that I don't see this piece here. So let's glue this. we're going to put the pocket down. Make sure my edges are lined up. So I have my bottom edge and my side edge lined up. And I'm just going to glue this on here. Okay. And now I have my flap and my pocket. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue my pocket in just like we did earlier. So bottom, short side, long side, leave the diagonal cut open for the pocket. Okay. And I'm going to glue it right on here. And just keep in mind that your signatures, the more you add to them, the bigger they get. So you have to make sure at the end when we do our cover that it's going to fit inside your cover if you've done your cover first. So just keep that in mind, that you have a limited amount of space if you've already made your cover, okay? So now I've got my flap and I've got my new pocket. Put it back in my little signature here, right there. This one here, I'm actually going to cut a bigger piece here, and I'm going to make a pocket with a flap. So, like we were just talking about. Actually, I changed my mind again. So what I'm actually going to do is I have this great big one already cut out that I really, really like. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to glue the two of these together using my small piece of paper. Okay. My glue decided to just be a little too much there. Okay, let me just get rid of that. All right. And now I have two flaps. Just like this. So now I can actually put them into the book this way. I could glue them down on the side here. I can actually put them around the signature like this so they make two different flaps. I kind of really want it to be double flaps. So I think I'm actually going to make a pocket out of this back one. And then I'm going to make the flap here on the front. But I'm going to make this a special pocket. I'm going to make sure this side and this side are both open. So let's just find a page here that I want to use real quick. I think I'm going to go with that one right there. All right. So I'm going to glue it in here. And I'm just going to glue these two sides because I actually want this side and this side to be open. So I'm just going to glue down this side and down the bottom. I'm going to line it up over here. Adhere it down. And now I have a flap. I can put something underneath here. I can write on the back of it here. I can actually put a pocket in here because this is a new pocket. So, and I'm going to put it back into my book here. Okay. And for today, that's all of our pockets. like I said, continue to kind of play around with them, see what you like. Take the pockets I use and turn them into flaps. You can use them for anything you want, any way you want to use them. There's tons of ways to go about it and play with it. So have fun, and we'll see you on our next class, okay? Welcome back to the Treasures and Junk Journal class. Today we're going to be making a bunch of the embellishments and everything to make your junk journals just a little bit more fun and unique for you. We're going to go over a little bit of the supplies that we're going to need right now. I'm still working with the Stamperia Precious Paper Pad. You're going to want a Stays On ink pad. This is because we are working on some fabrics and things that are going to need to make sure that the ink is going to stay on them. You're going to need a pair of precision scissors, the signature sets that you've already been working on, glue. This one here is Aleene's Tacky. You can use any kind of glue you want, just make sure it's not too wet. We're going to use some ribbon, some vellum, an empty dry tea bag, some acrylic blocks and a variety of stamps, a couple of paper clips, and our paper trimmer. All right, so let's just jump right on in here. The first thing that we're going to create, because I just love it and I think it's absolutely adorable, is our tea bag embellishment. You can use as many of these as you want, and you can kind of customize it however you want to. It depends on the tea bag that you're using. This one here is a fabric tea bag. So to get the tea out, I actually cut the top of it off here. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your paper trimmer and you're going to cut a piece of paper that's the right size to fit inside of your tea bag. Okay? Just like that, nice and easy. The next thing I'm going to do is cut out with my precision scissors one of the embellishments that actually came with my paper pack. I thought it was super cute and it would make a cute little tag. So if you want, you can leave the tag that comes with your tea bag, or you can kind of make it match. I'm going to make it match. So I'm just going to glue this over the top of the tea bag tag. Super simple, just like that. And now I have this adorable little tea bag here. You can add other embellishments to it if you want. You can sew around the edging so that the paper stays inside. You can use it for an actual pocket where you can pull things in and out from it. It kind of depends on what you want to actually do with this little pocket. You can slide it inside one of your other pockets and make sure it's movable and everything, or you can glue it down, which is more than likely what I'm going to do with mine, just because I kind of want it to be a little more permanent. Now I just gotta find a space to put it in that I really like. I don't want it to be too blendy. This was actually a really nice space, but it looks really blendy with the actual paper that's already on there, so I don't really want that. I think it's gonna have to be one of these. So I'm gonna take my little tea bag, and I'm actually going to glue mine down because I want it to stay there permanently. So I'm just going to run some glue over the back. And this glue is actually going to permanently adhere to the bag and the paper that I have in here. If you don't want it to attach to the piece that you're using on the inside, glue it down first by itself. I want the paper to be permanent inside there, so I'm just going to glue it all together. I'm going to put it down. No, you know what? I'm going to put it right here in the center. And again, just press it down nice and firm so all your glue adheres to the actual paper. And like I said, if you do not want the paper to be permanently attached, which is what I'm using to glue it down with, just take that out. You don't have to keep it in there. You can glue the bag down without the paper. Just take it out and the tea bag will glue itself down. So now I have this cute little tea bag tag that kind of hangs around, does this little thing. I can use this for anything I want. Super cute. I could also put other stuff in here on top of this pocket. You could use a stamp right here, either on the bag or on the paper. It's up to you how you want to do that. So that was our first cute little embellishment. The next one we are going to create are actually vellum squares. These are rectangles, I know, but you can cut them into any kind of shape that you want. So this is why we're using the Stays On ink, because we want it to stay on our surfaces that are not actual paper. So you're going to take your stamp pad and you're going to take whichever stamp you want. I'm going to use a phrase and an image. I'm going to take my stamp and press it firmly into the stamp pad. This makes sure that all of my writing is actually covered in ink. And then I'm going to stamp it into the center of this little piece of vellum here. Now, it's important to remember that you don't want to rock back and forth with your stamp pad. You actually just want to press heavily down on all four corners, nice and even, so that your distribution gets exactly the same, okay? I'm going to set this little guy aside. And depending on the vellum, you might need to give it a couple of minutes to actually dry, so don't touch it. It might be a little tiny bit wet for a little while. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stamp off, replace it with my new little butterfly, press him down, and then I'm going to press it onto the vellum. And I think this one I'm actually going to do a couple of little butterflies here on top of each other. Just because I have the space. You don't have to use all of it. You can cut it any way you want after you've stamped it. Okay. And maybe one more right here on top. Okay. And again, just let it dry a little bit before you actually use it. And what we're going to do is I'm going to glue one of them down, and then the other one I'm actually going to use brads to hold it on. So put my brads a little out of reach. I had to go grab them real quick. Okay. So find a page that I want. And again, you could put these on one of your pockets. You can put them on one of your tags. It's kind of up to you how you want to use them. I think I actually will put this on one of my tags. It looks super cute right over the top of that right there. So I'm just going to put it right here. And then I'm going to cut this off because I don't really want it on there. So this is the one that I'm going to glue on. The only thing that you want to remember when it comes to gluing vellum is that it's probably going to show through, so you might want to invest in some glue that is not going to come through it, so that you don't actually see it at the end. If it really bothers you that you're going to see the glue, use a clear glue instead of a white glue, or make sure that you use something that dries completely clear. Me, I'm kind of just going to rub this all around together so that it makes one large color, so you don't really see it as much. And I'm just going to press this on here. Okay. And then I'm going to cut it so it actually fits on there. Let me just get a tiny bit more glue underneath this top portion. All right, and now you have a cute little vellum tag. Okay, so for the second one, let's find a page that we want to use. use this back one here. It's kind of blank and empty, so I'm just going to use one there. Or if you wanted, like the tag, you can actually put this onto the tag and then place it somewhere on here as well. I'm going to kind of just put it here at the top. And I'm going to use a couple of brads to do that. Like we did last time, we're just going to poke them through both layers. Once we have it in place where we want it. And we're going to flip it over and open them up. Again, if you don't like the brad on the back here, you can also cover it up with washi tape or another piece of paper or some ribbon or something so that you don't actually have to see it on your finished journal. There's tons of ways around having that show. Now, you can also do a couple down here at the bottom. I'm just going to do the two at the top so it kind of flaps around like an extra little bit of embellishment there. All right. And then there are our little vellum tags or pockets or flaps or, you know, page covers. It kind of depends on what you want to do with them. You can pretty much turn them into anything that you want. The next thing that we're going to create is actually a little clip. You can use it kind of like a bookmark or just as an actual three-dimensional embellishment in your book. The first thing you're going to want to do is cut just a small rectangle of paper that's small enough to fit inside your paper clip. So it kind of depends on what kind of paper clip you have. So you want it to fit inside there. So we're just going to push it through just like this, and you want to make sure that you use the end that is solid, not the part that's broken right here. So push it through and then just kind of fold the edge over, and we're going to go ahead and just glue that. Make sure you press it down nice and firm so that you have your paper all glued together. Okay, and then we're going to take another rectangle, and you can use squares, you can use rectangles, you can use circles, you can use whatever kind of shape you want. You can use some of the embellishments like we used on that tea bag tag if you want. It kind of just depends on you and how you like it and what you kind of like with your journal there. So I'm going to kind of glue this on here a little offset from the side so it kind of hangs over the side here. Okay. And then we're going to take another piece. This one's going to be a square. And I'm kind of going to put it right here. So the first thing I want to do so I can get an even stamp is I'm actually going to stamp it on here before I glue it down, because I don't want those other two pieces of paper causing lines in my stamp. So this one here, I'm just going to use a simple phrase. This says love. Push onto your pad, place where you want it, and then just firmly press down. Nice little love there. Okay. And then I'm going to glue it down. I'm also sticking it out kind of sideways so that it makes another dimensional layer on it. Okay. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is actually a little tiny butterfly that I did on a piece of paper earlier and then cut out with my precision scissors. So I'm just going to put him right here on the bottom. I'm going to glue him right on there. And I'm only going to glue his body because I want his wings to stand up on their own. So I'm going to glue him on here. And then I'm going to just kind of bend his wings up a little tiny bit. That way he becomes more dimensional in 3D. Give him a little bit of a little flight there, right? Okay, and then this is your new embellishment. And you can take it and put it into your signature anywhere you want. It just kind of clips on to the page, just like this. And you can move it around. You could put it on a different page. You can put it on the top, depending on how you actually do the orientation. It can go on the top. It can go on the side. It can go on the bottom. It just depends on you and how you actually want to do it. So this is my little guy here. And like I said, you can move them around, play with them and stuff, see if you like them. Put it on there, use it as a bookmark. It kind of just depends on what you want to do. That's my difficult version. And then my very, very simple version of that is just to take a piece of paper, cut into a rectangle that fits inside there. You're going to do the exact same thing you did the first time and fold your paper over and then just glue it down. Wherever you feel like you want to do it. You can also add maybe like a layer of ribbon, you know, somewhere on here, down the side, across the top. Just depends on how you want to do it and what you think you like. And then I'm going to make this super, super simple. And I'm just going to, again, use a very small phrase. And I'm actually going to write it straight down the side here. Actually, I'm going to put it down at the bottom, I think. All right. It's quick and easy, just like that. Now I can take this one and I can put it anywhere in the thing that I want. Obviously, the orientation of your paperclip is going to determine where you can actually put it in your book and what pages you can use it on. This one here, I'm just going to place right on here. My little paper clip is not cooperating here. Okay, there it goes. I'm just going to slide him right on there. And that is a very simple version of our paper clip bookmark. All right, so now we're just going to move on and we're going to just do some very simple stamping. That's another way to do some really nice embellishment into your book. You just go through and you stamp stuff. This one here was a tag that I actually stamped and made earlier because I needed to take a picture of it. But we're going to go through here and we're kind of just going to add a little bit of stamping through the book. Let me just find a nice page that I want to stamp on. Okay, I think it's going to have to be this one here. So I'm going to pull it out. And I have just a really nice, it's a leaf pattern. You'll probably be able to see it much better once I actually get it on the paper. I'm still using the stays on just because it doesn't hurt anything to use it even when you're just stamping on paper. You can use a different kind of ink. I'm using black just so that it stands out and it's nice and bold. So I'm going to stamp. This is a brand new stamp, so it's kind of giving me a little bit of trouble. But you basically want to just keep stamping wherever you want it. There we go. That one was much better. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp kind of into the background here so that it kind of gets little layers on it. Little lighter ones than the others. Just gives it some cute little extra tones. Okay. So that one's done. You can also go through and, like I said, put little phrases. You can put little embellishments with your stamping. It kind of just depends on what you want to do through your book. I think I have this cute little tag here, and I think I'm going to do a word on this, or a phrase. Let me see what I got here. All right. So I kind of love this phrase. It's super cute. So I'm just going to use a little phrase stamp right here. And I'm going to put it right here on the top of another tag. So there's another cute little stamp. And then just keep doing stamps and phrases and whatever else you want to do until you decide that you're done. It's up to you how many you put in there, where you put in there, what kind of stamps you use. You can kind of just go through and do pretty much anything you want. This is one of my cute little pockets hiding another thing, so I think maybe I'll put a cute little phrase or something right there. I think it'd be cute to have a little hidden message underneath there. So I'm just going to take another phrase stamp. And I'm going to stamp it right here into the center of my flower, I think. Okay, and then I'm going to cover my little message back up. And like I said, just keep going through there as much as you want, as little as you want. Use whatever kind of stamps or embellishments you want in there. The stamps are entirely up to you, what you use. Play with color, play with textures, play with all kinds of other things, placements and everything, until you get it the way you want it. And the last thing that we're going to go over today is adding some ribbon. So I have this really, really pretty ribbon that I want to add to some of my pages. So the first one is actually going to be this really beautiful blue page here, because I think it'll look really nice down the side there. So I'm going to just take this piece of ribbon and I'm going to cut it to the size that I need. And then I'm going to take just a couple dollops of glue on one side. Now this can get messy, so if you're on a table that you don't really want to get dirty or glue on or anything like that, make sure you put something underneath of it. And then just kind of spread your glue out onto your ribbon. And then glue it down in place wherever you want it. That adds a really nice dimensional layer to your book. I think I'm probably going to do one more ribbon page. And then I'll probably go back through and do more stamping and everything. I'm not finished. That's just for the video. Like I said, please feel free to stamp as much or as little as you would like into your book. I think I'm going to put my other ribbon piece right here, I think. Let me put my little guy back on here real quick. Bloop. Okay. So again, I'm going to cut it. Add a little bit of glue here. Gonna rub it in a little bit. Get some good coverage on there. then I'm going to flip it over and actually glue it down. And if you see that yours is a little too big once it's stretched out and everything on there, you can actually cut it off. It's if it hangs over, if it bothers you, you can just cut it back off. You can also use this on pockets. When you do this on a pocket, you would just wrap it behind there and then glue it down with the pocket so that you don't see the edge if you want. Makes it a little more fancy for you. And those are our embellishments for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed your embellishment class, and we will see you for the next round. Have a good one. Welcome back to our Treasures and Junk Journal class. This is going to be our last one. We're going to create a cover today and go over how to get our signatures into the cover. We are still going to be working with this Stamperius Precious paper pad. If you have other paper pads you are using, please continue to use those as well. We're going to go over some of the supplies that we're going to need today. Just a pair of scissors, trusty old glue. We're going to use a paper piercer. I got this one from the Dollar Tree. A stylus got this one from the Dollar Tree as well. We're going to need a piece of either thick cardstock, mixed media paper, cardboard. This is a chipboard, a very thin version of it. It just depends on what you want. It's just to make the cover a little more sturdy. Then we are going to need our signatures that we've been creating. We're going to need some twine. This one here is pretty thin. I'm going to use it instead of string to attach my signatures with. We're going to need some ribbon for the front. And we are also going to need our paper trimmer. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to do today is we're actually going to do our cover. So I have already cut out a piece of paper for my cover. This one here is double-sided. I'm going to cover this side up and use this side because I really like it. So the way you have to make a cover is you want to cut your cover material to be 1/4 of an inch bigger than your signatures. So, and this is only because I have two. So see how small they are when I put them together? If you have big ones, you're going to have to add in that much to your paper. So I have a 4-inch here, 4-inch here, extra 1/4 of an inch here. So if you have a 4-inch by 6-inch like we've been making, but your signatures are like 1 inch thick, you have to put 1 inch in between here and still have your 4 inches, okay? Just so that you can actually make sure that when you close this, it's going to fit properly around your signatures. You don't want your signatures to take up too much space in here. So whatever this equals, make sure that you make that big enough on the inside, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to do after we cut it is we're going to take our paper trimmer and we're going to measure those out just so that we can actually get it correct. So once you cut it to your measurements, we're going to take and we're going to do our 4 inches, and then we're going to take our our stylus, and we're going to do it down that cutting track again so that we can score a line. And then you're going to go 1/4 of an inch for me, score again, inch, whatever your actual signatures equal here for you, and that will give you the lines where you can actually fold it and make your binding seam. I'm using a piece that was pretty torn up because I'm going to cover it up anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. If you want to use something that's a little better in shape, you can do that as well. Like I said, I'm going to cover it so nobody's ever going to see, but you want to make sure your binding again is as thick as your signatures are, okay? So now that we've done that, we're going to cut a piece of paper that is actually the exact same size plus 1/2 inch on each side, okay? So we did 4 inches, 4 inches, 1/4 of an inch, and then you have to add 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, okay? So that you can actually fold it over and make sure that you will have enough to cover the entire front cover, okay? So once you've done all that, what you're going to do is you're going to glue it down. I'm going to use my Aleene's. You are welcome to use something more like a decoupage or a Mod Podge or something that you kind of brush on so you get more coverage that's actually complete. I'm just going to go ahead and do it with this. If you want it to be nice and smooth, like I said, just use one of those other ones. If you want complete coverage, just make sure that you're not using something that's going to be terribly wet, because then it will make all your paper crinkle and be weird, and you don't want that on your cover. So I'm just going to give a nice generous covering here. Okay. And then I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to line it up right about 1/2 inch from each side. I'm not measuring because I do this a lot, so I don't really need to, but I can tell it's pretty much 1/2 inch all the way around. So if you want to measure and draw your lines, go ahead and do that. If you don't, then you don't have to. It's not really, you know, important if you measure or not. I don't need to, so if you don't want to, you don't have to. Okay, and we'll get back to these holes in just a second, okay? So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut the corners so that when we actually lay it over, it goes the right way. So you're going to take and you're going to cut basically a little tiny square out of each corner. And you're going to match it up to the edge of your board or thick paper or whatever it is that you're using for your cover. Okay. So just kind of cut it out. Again, if you really want to measure, instead of just kind of winging it like I'm doing, you're more than welcome to measure it. You're just going to go right into the corner of that on all 4 sides. Okay. Now we're done. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold over the top and the bottom nice and flush against that cardstock or chipboard or whatever it is you're using, and then we're going to glue them down. Alrighty, again, we're going to glue it, hold it down, make sure that it stays in place. Okay, next thing we're going to do, same thing to our sides. This is going to create our cover on the front. Okay, and then we're going to glue these as well. Make sure they're nice and tight. Okay. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to take another piece of paper and we're going to make our inside so that we don't have any of this showing through. We don't want any of this, you know, cardboard looking stuff showing through it. So this is a piece of paper that is actually the exact same size, this direction, as the back, the cover. So I'm just going to shorten it up. So instead of doing 6 inches, I'm going to do 5 3/4. So I'm just going to cut this little piece off here. Okay. And then instead of making it 8 1/4, I'm actually going to make it 8 inches. Okay. And then this should fit perfectly right inside there. And we're just going to glue it into place. Whoops. Again, use whatever glue you want. A lot of people will actually do it with a glue that is, like I said, more consistent all the way across so they get one nice layer. Just like I said, please remember not to use anything that's too wet, because then your paper will wrinkle, it could possibly tear. There's all kinds of things that'll happen if you use a really water-based glue to do this with. Okay, and then just sit this right on here in the center and then glue it down. The thing that I love about Aleene's glue is it's got this really cool lid on it. So it kind of makes it nice and easy for me to press everything out with the lid. It's just another useful kind of fun trick that I learned over the years of using it. It gives me nice flat results. And it makes sure everything gets pressed down really, really nice. Alright. So the little holes that you saw me using earlier, they actually are just pre-placement holes for my stylist. I mean, not my stylist, my signatures. And that is just because my paper piercer is actually broken. I don't know if you can see it, but the tip has been used way too much, so it kind of bends around. So I just pre-poked holes in it so that I can keep track and see where they are. Normally, you would just do this at the end, which I will show you how to do. Okay. So we're going to fold this back together. I'm going to get back into our cover. And until that paper dries, you're going to have that weird little bubble. So you kind of just want to keep pushing it down. And then you might want to give it a couple minutes to actually do its drying thing so that it doesn't bubble up like that. Okay. So there you go. Nice, simple, easy cover. We're going to go ahead and embellish it real quick while this is drying still a little bit. So what I'm using is I have another one of those cute little tags that I thought would be super adorable on the front here. So I'm just going to put that on the front. I'm going to glue it down. You can use pockets on the front. You can use 3D embellishments like we created earlier. I'm going to use some ribbon on the front of mine. You can kind of play around with it and do pretty much anything you want decorative wise. The possibilities are pretty much whatever you want to do. So I'm just going to put this right into the center. Again, I'm going to use my lid here to make sure everything's nice and pressed down. Okay, and then I have this cute ribbon, again, that I used on the actual project itself on the inside. And I'm actually going to run it all the way across the front and the back just because I think that looks super cute. You don't have to use a ribbon if you don't want. You could use twine. You could use a piece of actual cardstock and kind of run it across there and make a couple of layers with that if you want. It'd be really cute to put like an actual pressed dried flower on there, or maybe even a dimensional one, you know, for like a silk one or something like that you could also do as well. I'm going to use a little bit of glue here to do my ribbon down, just like we did in the previous lesson. Just kind of glued it a little tiny bit. Okay, flip it over, move it into place, kind of rub it around a little bit. You can also use hot glue if you want to. Typically I stay away from it on projects like this just because you get dollops of it that kind of come through the ribbon everywhere. If you have a problem with your glue, change to something that's clear drying or clear just to begin with, so you don't actually see it once it dries. And then you can cut off any excess that sticks over as well. A good tip is if your scissors are not very good and you happen to have a pair of fabric ones and you're using them for your ribbon, it's a good idea because fabric scissors work a lot better than regular scissors, even on ribbon. So if you're having some issues with your scissors, switch to fabric ones if you have them. Okay. Then I have this cute little tag that I was thinking about putting on here, but I think it might be a little too big for my cover. So I actually think I'm going to go ahead and cut out this flower and use that over the top here instead of the whole tag. I think that'd be kind of cute. So I'm just going to do a real quick, kind of fast cut out of this flower. Okay, so super simple, super quick. You can actually use foam squares to make it more dimensional, give it a little lift. You can just glue it straight on there if you want. You can use some paint or some pens to kind of go over this and add in some detail. You can stamp onto the front of it. I'll probably actually wind up doing a stamp here in the center at some point, just to give it a little tiny bit more cuteness on the front. I'll probably also go back over mine with some pen and stuff to give it some more depth and dimension. You could add a cute little brad in there if you wanted, maybe, before you glue it down. That would be really cute. It's kind of up to you what you want to do with the cover. Again, it is yours. Do whatever feels right to you. Make it yours. Okay, we're just going to press. Okay, and for now, I think I'm going to be done with my cover. Like I said, later on, I'll probably go through and, add a stamp and maybe some detailing and stuff in here. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with it yet, so I'm not 100% sure. Do whatever you want to do on it. Okay. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to put our signatures into our book. Now, the way you do that is you go to the middle page and you're going to use your paper piercer and you're going to poke 2 holes, one towards the top and one towards the bottom, about an inch from each side. You can also do a third one if you want, but it's much easier to just do the 2. And then you are going to do the same thing in your second set of signatures. You're going to just poke a hole. There's a hole here and a hole here. Go all the way through every page so that you make sure you get them on both sides. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take those holes and you're going to put them into your book so that they are, one's kind of on the side of your 1/4 inch binding and the other one's on the other side of your 1/4 inch binding, okay? That way you have enough space for your signatures to lay there. This is also pretty easy if you would rather just use a needle and some thread. You can do that as well. I just happen to not have either one of them right now. So that is why I am using the paper piercer. Like I said, if you want to use the needle and thread, that is completely understandable. It is a whole lot easier to do. You just have to make sure that you have a very sturdy needle so that it will actually go through all your pages there. Okay. And then I'm just going to make my holes a little tiny bit bigger with my stylist so that I can make sure that the twine that I'm using is going to go through everything. Okay. Again, if you're using your needle and thread, you don't have to worry about that because your needle is obviously already threaded with your thread that you're going to be using, so it's an extra step that you don't have to do. I'm going to be using my twine. Like I said, it's just this little tiny thin thing of twine. So I am going to find my signatures again here. And I'm going to go through each page. Poke it out the back. Put it through my cover. Put it back through my cover. Get it the other direction so I can actually get it through there. And then go back through my signature packet. And you want to make this as easy as possible if you're doing it the way that I'm doing it, so that the twine front stays together really well. You don't want it to unravel and cause you problems trying to go through all your pages. So if you're using the needle and thread, it's a lot easier, like I said, because you'll just be able to punch a hole and take your string straight through it. You don't have to go through all the work of trying to get it to go through every single individual page. You just make sure it already goes through there. Okay. So once you have that in place, you're just gonna pull it nice and tight. And you can do this in either direction. You can have it where it actually ties on the back of the book, or you can have it where it ties on the inside. I think it's kind of cuter when it ties on the inside, just because it adds a little bit more to the inside again. It gives it a little more extra something on there. Pull it out so you have enough room to tie it. Pull it nice and tight. Double knot it. Make sure you're nice and tight again. And then do another knot for good measure if you want to. And then from there you can just cut it off. If you want, you can pull it up where these are closer to the top instead of in the middle. You can use it as like a bookmark kind of thing. It's kind of up to you what you want to do. Cut it off here. Okay. So now I have one signature attached to my book. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just repeat the entire process here. I'm going to set the other one on the other side. I'm going to use my paper piercer because I don't have my needle again. I'm just going to poke a hole in it. I'm going to use my stylus to make the hole a little bit bigger. Put my twine through there. Go back in, poke my last hole. Maybe my paper piercer will let me. Okay, you can do it. There it goes. Okay. Use my stylus to make the hole bigger. Again, if you're using the needle and thread, this will not be nearly as complicated as mine is. Please forgive me for the complication, but it does show you a different way to do both. I'm going to work this back through all my layers. As you can see, my thread is starting to unravel here. So you just kind of wet your fingers and roll it back up so that it kind of stays together a little bit better again. And then just keep going until you get through that last one. Okay. All my stuff's falling out here. Okay. And then pull it nice and tight, 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 tight. Tie it off. Tighten it again. Make sure it's real nice and tight. Double knot. Tight, 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 tight. Do another knot just for good measure. And then cut it off. And that's the hard way to get your signatures in. Like I said, if you do have a needle and thread, please save yourself some trouble and just use the needle and thread and just poke them through the two sides so that you don't have to deal with all of that. Okay, so there's your journal cover and everything. And if you want, you can actually add some twine, wrap it around here, leave it long enough where you can tie it here on the end so that it keeps your book together. Add more embellishments, play with it, do whatever you want to do, have some fun, create some new things. I'd love to see what you guys are creating. If you want to leave something in the comment on my website, I would love to see everything that you guys are doing. All the little embellishments and extras you're adding. So go ahead and have some fun today. We'll see you later. Bye.